Hi, it's Taylor T. Carlson, and I've come back with another video for you. I just did a review for the 4K release of Top Gun, so being that I'm in a bit of a game review mood, I thought I would go back and take a look at the Top Gun games that were released for the NES. There are actually two of these, and today we're going to be taking a look at the first one, which is simply entitled Top Gun. This, of course, is the licensed game based on the film, and you turn on the game, and one of the things you'll notice right from the get-go is there's actually a pretty nice sounding 8-bit rendition of the Top Gun anthem, so that's definitely a way to start. And you go to the title screen with the logo, hit start, you see a nice little cinematic scene of an F-14 getting ready to launch, and then from there on out the game begins. You get your mission prompt, and the game gives you a choice of 3 different kinds of missiles. The most powerful ones you get the fewest of, but the weakest ones you get the most of. There's also a balanced set that's right in the middle. You're going to move forward and begin the first mission, and the game plays from a first-person perspective in an airplane cockpit, and you'll go through the worlds fighting a lot of aerial targets. The enemies can try to take you down with guns and missiles. One missile will destroy your plane, but it'll take 4 gunshots from the enemies to take you down. Now you have unlimited guns, which obviously aren't as powerful as your missiles, and then you have your missiles. Push the B button once to lock on, push B again to fire. And the first mission is, as the game describes it, training for your later missions, and so you'll have to sort of get a feel for the game then and there. When you get to the end of the level, you'll have to land the plane, and from there on out, you'll move on to mission 2, and there's 4 missions total in the game. The later missions introduce the elements of having to deal with ground and sea-based targets, so you have to fight in the air and the land as well, and you're also going to have to refuel your plane so that you don't run out of fuel and crash, and even deal with some boss battles. At the end of each level, of course, you do have to land the plane successfully. All these years later, how does this game, the official movie tie-in for Top Gun, measure up? Put simply, this is a decent video game, but it's not great. Back in the day, I played this religiously because A, I loved airplanes, B, I loved anything Top Gun, and C, back then new games weren't something you got very often. And of course I was excited to play this as a little kid, but these years later, a lot of the pros and cons really show themselves quite a bit more. As far as positives, I definitely love that 8-bit rendition of the Top Gun anthem that turns on when you start the game, and the inside view of the cockpit is actually done pretty nicely for an 8-bit game. You have gauges, you have a radar, and you can actually have enemies that radar lock onto where you have to skew left and right in order to break their missile lock, and that was kind of a nice touch. It's nice to see the radar is not just there for decoration. However, there are a lot of things about this game which simply have not aged that well. One of the biggest flaws right from the get-go, you cannot pause the game. Now, I understand how this was an issue with a lot of early console video games because we were just sort of coming off the golden age of arcade gaming, but by 1987, this was absolutely unacceptable. I mean, what do you do if you need to take a break? The single biggest issue with this game, however, is landing the plane and refueling the plane are extremely difficult to do. And if you don't know how to do these things successfully, it's not going to end well for you. Not landing the plane successfully actually costs you a life. And not refueling successfully means you run out of fuel, which means you crash, which means also you lose a life. In other words, if you can't land the plane or you can't refuel, and these things are very difficult to do, it's literally impossible to make it past the second level. In addition, there are no continues. If you get a game over after losing all 3 lives, you're going back to the beginning of the game. On top of that, there's also no way to save your progress. You can see how this game, in a lot of regards, hasn't aged very well. It's definitely fun to revisit this one for nostalgic purposes, and if you go to a used game store and you find this one in the budget bin and you've got a functional NES, I mean, why not go for it? You're not going to find much in terms of a plot, and you'll probably forget it quickly and move on to other titles, but it may be worth a look if you're mildly interested. Have you played Top Gun for the NES? Is this one of your favorite games from back in the day? Do you share a lot of my less than favorable sentiment these days? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to my channel and give this video a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson, and I will see you in my next video game review.